5 years ago, I had nothing. No job, no money, no clarity, and no clue what came next. Just a phone full of unread messages, a heart full of regret, and a life that felt like it was slipping through my fingers. If you've ever felt stuck, hopeless, or like the world was moving on without you, this video is for you. Because I didn't just bounce back, I rebuilt from the bottom. No handouts, no lucky breaks, no secret investors. Just pain, grit, and a plan. This isn't just another success story. This is the blueprint I wish I had when everything fell apart. We're going to break down why rock bottom isn't the end, it's the best beginning. How I turned breakdowns into breakthroughs. The exact plan I used to build my dream life from zero. And how you can use the same strategy to rise, no matter where you are now. Most people think you need connections, capital, or charisma to win. I didn't have any of that. What I had was desperation, and eventually, direction. So if you're tired of hearing polished stories with perfect endings, and you want the raw, step-by-step reality of building something real from scratch, keep watching, because this isn't just about motivation, it's about method. Let's start from the moment everything changed. It started with a question I couldn't answer. How did I end up here? I wasn't just broke. I was broken. Everything I thought defined me, my job title, my social circle, my plans, had vanished, and the scariest part wasn't losing it all. It was realizing I never really had a foundation in the first place. That's when the panic set in, the kind that creeps in at 2 a.m. and tells you that you've wasted your life, that you missed your shot, that maybe, just maybe, you were never meant for more. But somewhere in the middle of that fear, a spark lit up. Not some grand epiphany, just a quiet thought. What if this isn't the end? That thought turned into a journal entry. That journal entry turned into a habit. That habit turned into a new mindset. And that mindset? It changed everything. So before we dive into tactics, skills, and transformation, I need you to know, this video isn't about hype, it's about hope. It's about what happens when you stop waiting for permission and start designing your comeback. Because nobody's coming to save you. But that doesn't mean you can't be saved. You just have to be the one to start. In this video, I'm going to pull back the curtain and walk you through the exact path I took, from nothing to building a life I love, a life that's real, aligned, and entirely mine. And I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm here to show you how I built one, with no funding, no followers, and no fancy credentials. Because here's what I learned the hard way. Most people aren't struggling because they're lazy or unmotivated. They're struggling because they don't have a framework, a map, a reason to believe that their mess could turn into meaning. That was me, and if that's you too, you're in the right place. Let me ask you some real questions. What if hitting rock bottom is actually the start of your story, not the end? What if everything falling apart is the very thing that forces you to rebuild stronger? What if you already have what it takes and just need a system to shape it? This video is going to give you that system. But before we get tactical, let's get honest, because too many people skip this part. They want the strategy without facing the story. But your story matters. Your story holds the clues to your next move. So as I tell mine, I want you to start thinking about yours. What was your lowest point? What did it take from you? And what did it teach you? Because if you can face your truth, you can reshape your future. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do right now. The truth is, I didn't have a backup plan. There was no trust fund. No mentor on speed dial, no secret hack, just a pile of doubts and a single stubborn belief. There has to be more than this. That belief became my lifeline. It's what got me to open my laptop again, to study again, to create again, even when no one was watching, even when I was scared out of my mind. And let me be clear, I failed. A lot. I sent cold emails that never got answered, launched ideas that fell flat, got rejected, ignored, ghosted, and second-guessed every move I made. But through it all, I kept one promise to myself. I will not go back to who I used to be. That version of me, the one who played small, kept quiet, stayed stuck, had to die. Because my dream life wasn't going to be built by a weaker version of me. It needed a new version, one forged through struggle, one rebuilt with intention. And maybe that's where you are right now, staring at the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Good, because that's where transformation lives. That's where new stories are born. And in a few minutes, you'll know exactly how to start writing yours. Because the truth is, success isn't something you stumble into. It's something you decide to create. And that decision, it's not dramatic. It's quiet. It happens in the middle of the night when no one's watching. It happens when you choose to keep going, even though the results haven't shown up yet. That's the version of you we're building this video for. Not the one who needs more motivation. The one who needs a method, a real plan, a new way forward. So if you've ever asked yourself, how do I rebuild when everything feels lost? Where do I even start when I have nothing? Is it too late for me to create a life I love? Then stay with me, because you're about to get answers, no fluff, no filters, just a raw, real roadmap from the trenches of failure to the foundation of freedom. And by the time we're done, you won't just be inspired, you'll be equipped. So take a deep breath, silence the noise, and get ready to meet the version of you that's been waiting to rise. Let's begin. Here's something I wish someone told me when I was lost. You don't have to be fearless to start. You just have to be fed up with staying stuck. That's where real change begins. Not with some overnight epiphany, but with the moment you decide that settling is no longer an option. That the pain of staying where you are is greater than the fear of what comes next. That moment, that was my turning point, and it can be yours too, because everything you think is holding you back, the failure, the debt, the shame, the burnout, can be flipped. Not overnight, but over time, through discipline, through clarity, through aligned action. And that's what this entire video is built to help you do. I'm going to show you how to take what's hurt you and turn it into something that heals others. How to find power in your past instead of feeling paralyzed by it. How to map out a future that doesn't just look good on social media, but feels right in your soul. So if you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or unsure of your worth, I see you, and I built this for you. This is the video I wish I had when everything fell apart. This is the truth. I wish someone whispered to me when I thought it was too late. It's not too late. You're not too far gone. And this is your beginning. Let's go. Before we move forward, I want you to remember one thing. This video isn't about me. It's about what's possible for you. I'm just the proof that you don't need perfect timing, luck, or permission. You just need the courage to begin again. You ready? Good. Because the real work, the life-changing work, starts now. Let's start with the truth that changed everything for me. Rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. That idea sounds poetic until you're the one sitting in the rubble. But here's the paradox. When life strips you down, it's giving you the rarest gift, a clean slate. Rock bottom removes the noise, the distractions, the lies you tell yourself to feel okay. And in that silence, you finally hear what matters. At rock bottom, there's nowhere left to perform. You can't fake success, can't fake confidence, can't fake fulfillment. It's all stripped away. And while that feels terrifying, it's actually sacred. Because when you're not busy pretending, you get to decide who you really are. That's the birthplace of transformation. This is where the real work begins, not just externally, but internally. You start asking better questions. Why am I here? What was I chasing? What am I pretending not to know? And the answers aren't always pretty, but they're real. And realness becomes your superpower. Because while most people live behind filters, physical, emotional, digital, you've been forced to confront your raw, unfiltered self. That honesty hurts, but it's also healing. I realized that everything I thought I needed, the title, the approval, the lifestyle, was actually a distraction from the real goal. Alignment. And rock bottom showed me just how far off track I was. I had built a life based on expectation, what others thought success should look like, but in losing it all, I had the rare opportunity to rebuild on my own terms. Rock bottom humbled me, but it also empowered me. Because once you've been through the worst, every step forward feels like freedom. Every small win is amplified. Every risk you take is grounded in a deeper why. That's the foundation most people never build on. They build from comfort, and it crumbles. You build from clarity, and it lasts. When you're at rock bottom, you're forced to strip everything down to the essentials. You stop asking, how do I impress people? And start asking, how do I survive today? And somewhere in that survival mode, you rediscover the core of who you are. That identity, the one that was buried under other people's expectations, starts to re-emerge. You realize that most people are playing roles. They wake up, perform, post the highlight reel, chase things they don't even want, and crash at night wondering why they fee. Because here's the thing, when you've hit the floor, there's only one way to go. Up. That singular direction gives you a kind of focus and hunger most people never tap into. You stop dabbling. You go all in. You take bolder swings, not because you're fearless, but because fear already knocked you down and you got back up anyway. This clarity becomes your edge. Suddenly, you don't need to compete with everyone. You're not playing the same game. You're not trying to be liked. You're trying to become someone. And guess what happens when you operate like that? You get resilient. You get resourceful. You start learning faster, moving smarter, saying no to what doesn't align, saying yes to the uncomfortable growth you used to avoid. Your standards rise. And as your standards rise, so does your reality. Rock bottom reintroduces you to yourself. Not the masked up version, the real version. The one who's been buried under years of fear, conditioning, and noise. And that version of you, that's the one who builds something. Here's the truth. I wish someone told me earlier, your lowest point doesn't disqualify you from greatness. It qualifies you. It gives you a kind of credibility that can't be bought, taught, or faked. Because when you've been to the bottom and you choose to rise anyway, you earn a wisdom most people never get. You begin to understand that pain isn't just something to survive. It's something to study, to use, to alchemize into something better. And once you've done that once, you know you can do it again. Most people never pause long enough to audit their lives, but rock bottom forces you to pause, to confront, to strip away everything that isn't working. And what's left? The truth, the raw data of who you are and what you want. That's where you rebuild. Not from pressure, from principle. You learn to move with intention. You're no longer chasing what's trendy, you're chasing what's real. And when your life starts reflecting that inner integrity, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring success by superficial metrics. You start measuring it by alignment, by peace, by freedom. And guess what? That's when the world starts noticing you. Because real alignment is magnetic. When your voice matches your values, people lean in. They trust you. Because you're no longer trying to be everything to everyone. You're just trying to be yourself, fully. And in a world starving for authenticity, that's rare. So yes, rock bottom is painful. It's lonely. It's brutal. But it's also honest. And honesty is the birthplace of real power. And here's what really shifted my perspective. I stopped seeing rock bottom as punishment and started seeing it as preparation. Think about it. If you're going to build something meaningful, wouldn't you want to know what you're really made of? Rock bottom shows you. It doesn't just test your limits, it reveals them. It exposes every crack in your character and dares you to do something about it. That's why some of the greatest leaders, creators, and innovators didn't rise from comfort. They rose from char. Because here's another lie we've been sold, that success is linear. That if you do the right things in the right order, life will reward you. But the truth is, growth is jagged, messy, full of collapses and rebuilds. And when you accept that, you stop feeling ashamed for your setbacks. You start seeing them as setups. You begin to appreciate the rebuilding season, the quiet months, the times when no one's watching, because those are the seasons that sharpen your edge, that test your consistency, that force you. You no longer fear being at the bottom because you've been there. You know what it feels like. You know how to move inside of pain. That makes you dangerous, in the best way, because while others hesitate, you execute. While others panic, you focus. You've already fought battles no one knows about, and that history gives you certainty. Certainty not in the outcome, but in your own ability to rise. That's the foundation I built everything on. Not motivation, not hype, just truth, tested by fire. And every time life tried to knock me down, again, I smiled, because I'd already learned how to get back up. Rock bottom gave me one more gift: perspective. When you lose what you thought mattered, you start seeing what actually does. It's not just about rebuilding your career or bank account. It's about rebuilding your identity. Who you are when no one's clapping. Who you are when the likes disappear. Who you are when you fail in front of people who expected you to win. In that space, I stopped performing. I started connecting. I started asking different questions. Not, how can I succeed? But, what's what? I stopped tolerating people who drained me. I stopped spending time on things that numbed me. I stopped outsourcing my happiness to external wins. Instead, I learned how to enjoy the process. To fall in love with the climb, even when the summit felt a million miles away. And that's when the breakthrough came. Not in a big win, but in a small moment. I looked around one day and realized I wasn't fighting to survive anymore. I was fighting to grow. That shift changed everything, because once you stop fearing rock bottom, taught me that rock-solid character is forged in the dark, when no one sees, when no one celebrates, when no one understands. That's where integrity is built. And when you bring that level of character into the light, it shows, it speaks, it shines. That's why I no longer fear starting over, because I know what's in me. I've been tested, and that test gave me the foundation I still stand on today. So if you're in that place right now, in the dark, in the struggle, feeling forgotten, I want you to know, this is not the end. This is your origin story. Every hero you admire, they were forged in adversity. They earned their confidence, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. Let the pain fuel you. Let the silence sharpen you. Let the rejection redirect you. Every time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, what if this is the season that changes everything? Because it just might be. But you, use this moment as a launch pad, not in spite of the pain, but because of it. Because rock bottom clears away the clutter. It burns away the false identities. And if you let it, it will leave behind only what matters most. Your values, your voice, your vision. That's the real foundation of success. Not hype, not followers, not titles, but self-awareness, discipline, and the unshakable belief that you can build something real, even from the rubble. Because once you realize that you don't need to be saved, you start saving yourself. And when you do, you become unstoppable. Because the world can't take from you what you already rebuilt from nothing. That's the power of hitting bottom. That's the power of standing back up. And that's why, for me, rock bottom wasn't a curse. It was a calling. So the next time someone tells you they've hit rock bottom, don't pity them. Pay attention. They're in the most honest place a person can be. They're being reborn, rewired, refocused. That's the space where character is built, where ego dies, where truth begins. And once you build from that space, you become unshakable. This isn't philosophy. This is lived experience. And if you're there right now, good. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Not broken, not behind, just beginning. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Once you've built from rock bottom, you carry that mindset with you forever. You stop fearing failure because failure becomes familiar. You stop craving comfort because you know what discomfort taught you. You stop chasing quick wins because you've seen what consistency builds. You become different, sharper, kinder, hungrier, not in a desperate way, but in a disciplined way. You know that success isn't about never falling. It's about always rising with Mo. And that's why I say it with my chest every time. Rock bottom is the best foundation for success. Because when you rise from there, you rise with substance, with story, with soul. You rise with something no one can take from you, a truth that was tested. So if you're still in it, good. Stay there long enough to find your truth. Then build something so real, so raw, so unstoppable, that even your future self thanks you for not giving up when it hurt the most. Because sometimes the best version of you isn't found at the top, it's built at the bottom. Story. Let me take you back to the day everything collapsed. It was raining, not in a poetic way, in the kind of way that soaks your socks and makes the whole city feel like it's falling apart with you. I had just been let go from a job I hated but depended on. The kind of job where your soul dies a little each day, but the paycheck keeps you quiet. And now, even that was gone. I walked home in the rain, carrying a box with 2 notebooks, a dead plant, and a resignation letter I didn't write. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat in silence for hours. My phone buzzed with worried texts. but I couldn't answer. What would I say? That I was 28, broke, exhausted, and didn't know who I was without a title or a routine. That I felt like I had failed at life. For the next few weeks, I spiraled. I avoided people. I slept odd hours. I watched motivational videos late at night and rolled my eyes at them. Easy for you to say, I'd mutter. You're already successful. I wasn't angry at them. I was angry at myself. Angry for staying too long, for settling, for pretending I was okay. I wasn't. But something unexpected happened in that stillness. A thought appeared, quiet, but persistent. If this isn't rock bottom, what is? And then the follow-up. If I'm at the bottom, why not build from here? That was the moment everything shifted. I started small, not with grand plans or new businesses, with movement. I forced myself to get out of bed at the same time each day. I cleaned my room. I shaved. I made breakfast. These seem like nothing, but when you feel worthless, doing something, anything, is a rebellion against the voice that tells you you're done. Next came the notebooks. I started writing. Not for anyone else, just for me. 1 page a day, no structure, just whatever I was feeling. Fear, anger, regret, hope. Slowly, the words beck. There was one entry that still sticks with me. I wrote, if you don't believe, in the future, create one worth believing in. That line hit me like lightning. I read it over and over. It felt like a message from a stronger version of myself, one I hadn't met yet, but hoped to become. So I made a list, not of goals, but of things I could control. I could control my effort, my energy, my focus, my environment. I decided to protect those things with my life, because when everything feels out of control, that's when I began learning again. I watched free courses, read free ebooks, signed up for newsletters. I didn't wait for a curriculum. I became my own university. My major, how to become a more useful, self-led, resilient human. At first, nothing happened. But then, small changes appeared. I started waking up excited. Again, ideas started flowing. Confidence, once buried, peeked its head above ground, and for the first time in years, I believed I could build something better. I started freelancing. Badly at first. I didn't know what to charge. My website looked like it was built in 2004. But I put myself out there. I DM'd people, reached out on LinkedIn, offered to help solve small problems in exchange for testimonials or coffee. Anything. My first client paid me $75 for a full week of work. And I celebrated like I won the lottery. Because it wasn't about the money. It was about the belief. Someone trusted me. Someone saw value in what I offered. That one small win lit a... From there, I made a rule. Every dollar earned must teach me something. If I got paid, I invested part of it into a course, a tool, or a book. That kept me growing. That kept me hungry. And the more I learned, the more value I could offer. I realized success isn't about speed. It's about stacking tiny, consistent moves until momentum becomes identity. I remember one night, working past midnight, headphones in, building something that no one asked for, and feeling alive, like I'd finally stopped existing. Eventually, I got better. My rates went up. My confidence stabilized. I started turning down clients who didn't align, started speaking up more, started taking days off, not to escape, but to recharge. My friends started noticing. You seem different, they'd say. I was, because I had built this version of me from the inside out, not for the world, but for the future I knew I deserved. Things didn't magically get easy, but they became meaningful. That was the shift. I wasn't chasing a fantasy anymore. I was building a foundation, day by day, brick by brick. No more waiting for someone to discover me. I was discovering myself. I began journaling differently, not just about pain, but about patterns. What gave me energy? What drained me? What kind of work made me forget the time? Those questions helped me pivot from survival mode to strategy mode. I noticed that I lit up when I taught, even if it was just explaining something on a Zoom call. So I started making videos, simple ones, raw, unscripted. I'd record for hours and keep 3 minutes. I posted anyway. At first, nobody watched, but I kept posting. Then one day, one video hit. Not viral, but real. People commented things like, "This felt like you were talking to me." That cracked something open. I realized my pain wasn't just personal. It was portable. It could help people. That idea changed everything. I doubled down. More content, more coaching, more connection. Not chasing numbers, but chasing meaning. And meaning brought momentum. From there, opportunities unfolded. A small podcast invited me on. That episode led to a client. That client introduced me to a community. That community became my tribe. But none of that would have happened if I hadn't honored the pain, if I hadn't leaned into the mess, if I hadn't been willing to show up broken and keep building anyway. I started hosting live calls, free, small, and unpolished. Just space for people like me, rebuilding, redefining, trying again. The first one had 4 people. 2 showed up late. 1 had bad Wi-Fi. But that night, something clicked. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was serving. Conversations got deeper. People opened up. And I realized something wild. My story was helping unlock theirs. The very moments I once wanted to hide, the shame, the rock bottom, the failure, I kept going. Built a small coaching program, not to make millions, to help people move, from stuck to in motion, from confused to clear, from numb to alive. And as they grew, so did I. Because impact is the best feedback loop in the world. Eventually, I wrote my story. Not a memoir, a blueprint. Something raw and real that people could hold in their hands when life knocked them down. I self-published it, sold a few copies, got a message from a woman in another country. I read this and decided to re-app. I cried when I read that, because I remembered what it felt like to have nothing. And now my words were giving someone else a reason to keep going. That's when I knew this wasn't just about me. It never was. This was about what happens when one broken person chooses to rebuild, loudly, so others know they can too. One thing I've learned on this path: healing isn't linear. Even now, with the wins, the milestones, the gratitude, there are days the darkness whispers back. Days I question everything. Days I wonder if I've fooled everyone, including myself. But those days don't break me anymore. They refine me. Because now I have tools. I have truth. I have people. I don't need to pretend I'm always okay. I just need to stay honest and stay in motion. Rock bottom doesn't disappear. It evolves. It becomes your teacher. And the people I've met since starting this journey, the real ones, they've shown me that everyone is battling something. Everyone has a story they're scared to tell. But when someone finally speaks up, that's when healing multiplies. That's when courage becomes contagious. So I keep telling mine, not to be admired, but to give permission. Permission to feel broken, to start late, to pivot again, to forgive yourself, to say, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. That phrase, I'll figure it out, has built more, because in the end, this isn't about building a dream life so I can post about it. It's about building a life that feels like mine, that reflects my scars, my values, my voice, one where I don't need to impress people, I get to impact them. Starting with the one version of me who needed this story 5 years ago. That version still lives inside me. And I fight for them every day. Today, I get messages from people around the world. They say things like, your story gave me hope. Or, I finally left that job. Or, I started creating again because of you. And every time I read those words, I think back to the version of me who almost quit. Not once, but 100 times. I think back to that rainy day, that empty room, that hollow ache in my chest. And I smile, because now I know that wasn't the end. That was the beginning of becoming someone I respect, someone I trust, But let me be honest, none of this was guaranteed. I wasn't special. I didn't have connections. I didn't have money. I had will. I had pain. I had a pen. And I had the decision to try. Every day. Especially the hard ones. That's what separates people who rise from people who wait. They try. Even when it's ugly. Even when it's slow. Even when no one claps. They build. Brick by broken brick. They let failure shape their flexibility. They let silence sharpen their voice. That's what I did. That's what I still do. Because the goal was never just to change my life. It was to prove that lives can be changed. By the ones least expected to win. The ones who start with nothing but a whisper of belief. And if you're that person, welcome. This story, it's proof. And now, it's your turn. Looking back now, I see how every setback was setting me up. Not for success in the traditional sense, but for self-discovery, for depth, for grit, for clarity. And that's something no one can give you. You have to earn it, through discomfort, through detours, through days when all you have is your breath and your belief. I used to crave applause. Now I crave alignment. I used to want to impress. Now I want to express. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened in moments, like the first time I turned down a client because they didn't respect boundaries, or the first time I told my story on stage and saw people cry, or the first time I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm still showing up. And here's the wild part. The more real I got, the more the right people found me. Friends who saw the scars and stayed. Clients who wanted transformation, not just transactions. Opportunities that aligned with my mission, not just my ambition. That's what rising from rock bottom teaches you. You stop settling for crumbs when you've learned how to bake your own bread. You become selective, not out of ego, out of earned self-worth. You know what it took to stand again. You know what you've overcome, and that knowing makes you move differently, not louder, not faster, just more powerfully. As I kept growing, something beautiful happened. People began asking me for advice. The same kid who once hid from phone calls was now helping others find their voice. I never saw that coming. But it felt right. It felt earned. I began mentoring others through their transitions. Not from a pedestal, but from a place of, I get it. I knew the panic of having $7 in your account. I knew the fear of starting over. I knew the sting of rejection, the ache of invisibility, the guilt of lost time, that and I saw the ripple effect. One person finds their confidence, and suddenly their family dynamic shifts. They speak up, they dream again, they parent differently, they create. That's the impact we never calculate, how healing in one life echoes across generations. I've watched people go from broken to booked, from silent to speaking on stages, from stuck in old stories to writing new ones. And every time I witness that shift, I whisper to myself, this is why. Not the money, not the metrics, the meaning, the full circle feeling of becoming the person I once needed. That's what this story became. A guide, a lighthouse, a quiet promise that rock bottom isn't the grave it feels like. It's the garden where new life grows. You just have to be patient enough to plant, brave enough to water it, and faithful enough to believe that one day it will bloom. These days, my life looks completely different on the outside, but the biggest change has always been on the inside. I wake up early, not because I have to, but because I want to protect the peace I fought so hard for. I journal, I move, I reflect, I give. Not every day is perfect, but every day is chosen, and that choice is sacred. There's a quiet confidence that comes from building yourself back, up from nothing, a softness too. You stop judging people for their mistakes. You start seeing them as mirrors. Every angry person is probably afraid. Every bitter person is probably hurt. And every lazy person might just be someone who hasn't been seen. That perspective shift changed how I lead, how I coach, how I create. I don't talk at people. I talk to them, with them, because I've been in their shoes. I still wear those shoes some days. And that's what keeps this story real. I haven't made it. I've just made progress. I still fall. I still fail. But I rise faster now. I course correct quicker. And most importantly, I trust that whatever happens, I'll find a way through it. Because I've done it before. And that's the final lesson rock bottom gave me. You are not fragile. You are forged, built for more, and becoming more. One day, one habit, one brave decision at a time. And now, I share this not as a conclusion, but as an invitation. If you're in the pit, if you feel behind, broken or forgotten, I see you. I've been you, and I promise, this pain won't be wasted if you use it, if you lean into it, if you let it break you open instead of breaking you down. Start where you are, not where you wish you were. Pick up the pieces, move with humility, build what matters, one habit at a time, one conversation at a time, one promise kept to yourself at a time. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be persistent. You don't need to be fearless, just willing. You don't need to know the whole map. Just trust the next step, and maybe, one day, 5 years from now, you'll be telling your story. And someone will be listening, whispering to themselves, if they could do it, maybe I can too. That's how the ripple continues. That's how movements are born. That's how legacies are written. Not in perfection, but in perseverance. This is my story. Now go write yours. Because here's what I know now. With everything I've lived, you don't need a perfect past to create a powerful future. You don't need a lucky break to make your next chapter your best one. You just need a decision, a moment of defiance, a refusal to stay down. Every breakthrough I've had started with a breakdown. Every transformation began in uncertainty. Every win I celebrate today was born in a moment where I almost quit. So if you're at that edge, don't jump. Build. Build your future. Build your character. Build your voice. One breath. One belief. one step at a time. Because rock bottom isn't just the place you fell, it's the place you rose. You might not see it now, but this chapter, the hard one, the messy one, might be the most important part of your life. The part where you stopped waiting. The part where you chose to rise. The part where your pain gave birth to a new purpose. So keep going. Keep showing up. Keep becoming. Because one day, someone will look at your life and say, "You're the reason I didn't give up, and that makes every scar worth it." Tactic. Let's talk tactics. Because inspiration is powerful, but execution is everything. If you want to turn pain into progress, if you want to build your dream life from nothing, you need more than motivation. You need a pain-to-purpose plan. A strategy that takes your story and turns it into strength. A method that helps you move from stuck to self-led. The plan I followed and still use today is built on 3 pillars. Learn skills. Aware. Build value. Give more than you take. Let's break them down. Learn skills. When I hit rock bottom, I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to learn something. Anything. Because skills are your currency when you have no cash. They're your leverage when you have no connections. They're your freedom when the system feels rigged. I started with what I had, curiosity. I asked myself, what do I enjoy doing, even when no one's paying me? The answer wasn't glamorous. It was writing, speaking, explaining ideas, so I doubled down. I studied copywriting, storytelling. And I didn't just learn, I applied. I didn't wait to be ready. I built mock portfolios, created fake brand campaigns, wrote blog posts no one asked for. I practiced in public, shared my work, asked for feedback, took notes, got better. That's what most people miss. Learning isn't passive. You don't just consume. You create, you test, you stumble and recalibrate. Real skill comes from real reps, not theory. Execution. And the beauty is, once you learn one skill well, you can stack it. I took my writing and paired it with design, then strategy, then video. Suddenly, I wasn't just a writer. I was a creator, a consultant, a business, and all of it started with the decision to master just one thing. So pick a skill, any skill, go deep, obsess, practice daily. The market rewards value, and skill is the fastest path to providing it. Build value. Once you've sharpened your skills, the next step is to use them, not just to make money, but to create value. This is where most people get stuck. They ask, how can I get paid? The better question is, how can I solve a real problem? Value is created when you make someone's life easier, faster, better, or more enjoyable. That's it. That's the game. Your skill is the tool, but your empathy is the fuel. When you understand what people are struggling with and you offer a solution, you become invaluable. In my case, I realized people didn't just need writers. They needed clarity, messaging, strategy. So I stopped selling words and started offering outcomes. That small shift changed everything. You don't need to have 10 years of experience. You just need to solve a real problem better than the person next to you. And when you do that consistently, you build trust. Trust becomes opportunity. Opportunity becomes income. Here's a rule I live by. Don't chase attention, chase impact. When you build value first, the audience comes, the clients come, the recognition comes, but only if you earn it by showing up and serving first. And value doesn't always mean business. It can mean encouragement. a perspective, a tool, a story. The internet gives you reach, but value gives you roots. So build with purpose, serve with strategy, and the results will follow. Give more than you take. This one changed everything for me. When you're rebuilding from scratch, it's tempting to move with desperation. You want results fast. But that mindset repels opportunity. People can feel when you're taking, not giving. So I flipped the script. I decided to outgive everyone around me. If someone asked for help, I gave it. If someone needed support, I showed up. If I had knowledge, I shared it, even if they weren't paying. Not because I'm some saint, but because generosity is leverage, and long term, the person who gives the most wins. Why? Because trust is the most valuable currency in any industry. And trust is built by consistency, transparency, and service. When people trust you, they buy from you, refer you, defend you, and follow you, even when others offer something better. So I started offering value without attachment. Free strategy calls, audits, templates, stories, support. I focused on being helpful, not being seen. And the ironic part, that's what got me seen. Giving doesn't mean being a doormat. It means being generous with your energy, your ideas, your encouragement, especially when no one's watching. In a world where everyone is screaming, "Look at me," be the person who says, "How can I help?" The ROI of generosity is massive, not just in money, but in meaning. Now that you know the 3 pillars, learn skills, build value, give more than you take, the question becomes, how do you apply this? How do you actually build a pain-to-purpose plan? Here's a simple 5-step framework. Step 1. Audit your pain. Write down everything that's caused you deep frustration, heartbreak, or burnout. This isn't therapy, it's strategy. Because pain is data, and that data tells you where the cracks are, not just in your life, but in the lives of others who share your style. Step 2. Identify transferable strengths. Even if you feel broken, you're not starting from zero. What have you overcome? What do people come to you for? What makes you curious? Those are the clues. You don't need to master 100 things. Just lean into what you already know, even a little. Step 3. Choose a value vehicle. This is where you ask, how can I use my strengths to help others? Maybe it's freelancing. Maybe it's creating content. Maybe it's coaching, designing, teaching, organizing, building. Your pain becomes purpose the moment it serves someone else. Step 4. Create consistently. Don't wait to be discovered. Don't wait to be perfect. Show your work, share your process, post your lessons, document your journey. You become valuable when people can see your value. And that only happens when you put yourself out there. Step 5. Build in public. This is the fast track, not to fame, but to feedback. When you build publicly, you attract your tribe. You learn faster. You iterate quicker. You connect with people who resonate not with your polish, but with your progress. That's your pain-to-purpose map. Now, walk it. Here's what no one tells you about executing a plan like this. It's going to feel slow, uncertain, and wildly uncomfortable at first. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're on the right path. Every tactic has an enemy, and the biggest enemies of this process are impatience. You'll want results fast, but fast growth is fragile. What you're building needs roots, not just reach. Comparison. You'll see others further ahead and think you're behind. You're not. You're just on a different timeline. Perfectionism. You'll want every post, pitch, or offer to be perfect, but perfection kills progress. Publish anyway. Isolation. You'll try to figure it all out alone. Don't. Community is a cheat code, so here's what you do instead. Track progress weekly, not daily. Momentum is easier to see over time. Celebrate the inputs, not just the outcomes. Did you post, pitch, practice? That's a win. Build tiny habits. 1 hour of learning, 1 post a week, 1 client conversation. Tiny moves compound. Stay curious. Ask people what they need. Listen deeply. The more you understand, the more valuable you become. The people who win aren't the smartest. They're the most consistent. They keep showing up even when it's quiet. They keep giving even when it's thankless. They keep moving even when the vision feels blurry. That's how purpose is built, not in one breakthrough, but in thousands of brave, boring reps. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for life to hand you purpose and start building it yourself. Your skills are the seeds, your habits are the water, and your values are the sunlight. When you combine all three with enough time and tension, growth becomes inevitable. I look back now and realize the power wasn't in some secret tactic or magic opportunity. It was in the decision to move every day, through fear, through failure, through fatigue. That's how this works. Your pain to purpose plan isn't about never struggling again. It's about struggling forward, with intention, with courage, with a quiet, gritty hope that says, this work matters, even when no one sees it. So take what you've learned here. Start the audit, build the habit, test the offer, serve the first person, and then the next, and then the next. Let them feel your care. Let them feel your craft. Let them feel your consistency. Because in the end, no tactic works unless you do. But if you do, if you stay patient, honest, and relentlessly useful, you won't just change your life. You'll build a life that changes others. And that's the real definition of success. So here's your next move. Not a fantasy, not a someday. A real, practical next step. Pick 1 skill, not 10. 1. Go deep, not wide. Find 3 people struggling with a problem you can help solve. Offer to help. No pressure, no pitch, just serve. Document everything. What worked, what didn't, what surprised you. Repeat, refine, build. Every week ask yourself, did I create value this week? Did I get better at my craft? Did I show up when it was easier to stay invisible? If the answer is yes, you're winning. If not, adjust. Don't quit. Don't self-sabotage. Just tweak the system and move again. Because that's all success really is. A series of micro-adjustments made by people who refuse to disappear. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're just getting started. And that pain to purpose plan, it's already inside you. So honor it, build it, and share it with the world. We need what you've lived through. And someone out there is waiting for your story, your voice, and your service to help them find theirs. Start today. And remember, the world doesn't just need more success stories. It needs more builders. People who rise from their own ruins and help others do the same. That's the work you're called to. That's the difference you can make. Because the greatest tactic of all is showing up as yourself every single day. Clear, skilled, valuable, and generous. Now go build. You might not feel ready. Most people don't. But readiness is a myth. Action creates clarity. Progress creates confidence. The only way to figure it out is to start moving. Make mistakes. Apologize when you misstep. Learn publicly. Be transparent about your growth. It's not weakness, it's leadership. Because people don't follow perfection. They follow honesty, integrity, grit. Build your life like someone else's breakthrough depends on it. Because it does. Someone out there is waiting to see if you'll rise, because they don't believe they can until you do. This isn't just about you anymore. This is legacy work, and every legacy begins with a decision. I won't waste this pain. Make that decision. Today, and never look back.